You're listening to ShefF1 broadcasting currently live on Forge Radio due to some technical mishaps. This will be a shorter episode of the broadcast of the show because we've had an absolute nightmare this evening trying to sort out microphones, cameras, rooms, everything. It's all gone to... I'll censor myself there. But yes, welcome to ShefF1, Forge Radio's greatest and only and most impromptu and most quickly put together motorsport program at the moment. I'm Rudy Blank-Brown. Joining me in the studio is Seb Alston and Amy Hamerslagh as per usual. So we've got the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix to review in around 15 minutes because someone has this booked straight after us. So that's not ideal. Let's just go over our predictions. Who's got them in front of them?
I have.
Amy's got them in front of him.
Quali ones first.
Qualifying first,
we go
please.
qualifying. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We've got pole position. We have both of you to go for Max Verstappen, and myself, I went for Lando Norris, and I think it
Explain, Lando Norris.
I think it weren't the most terrible. He messed up in sector 3. He was going fast.
He slid, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a fast sector at sector 1, and then second he was still like I think he was just slightly below Verstappen, and then in sector 3
Yeah.
lost it, and then obviously had his teammate outperform him in qualifying.
He did, yes. Your star of qualifying, Oscar Piastri.
Very happy with that.
Yeah, very impressive. We predicted Max Verstappen on pole. I don't know how he did it.
Yeah,
well,
the thing is, though, I was actually wanted to change it because after the first couple of practice sessions, Max was complaining loads.
He only had
the
to,
Red Bulls didn't look incredibly quick. So I was a bit like, we're going to get this wrong. The time we can predict Max Verstappen, the time we're going to get it wrong. But that's a bit boring.
But yeah, let's delve deeper into Oscar Piastri. A great prediction from you there. Probably arguably the best of the weekend, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. What can I say? I'm just known for this.
Yeah, you're made for this.
But it was an excellent showing from the I'd say Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, definitely. Only Nick, I think. But Amy, you said beforehand. I was thinking, Ricardo, star or flop. He went for star.
And he flopped.
He flopped.
He got out of Q1.
Wow.
Hand him that Red Bull seat immediately.
Yeah. That just reminds me of another prediction you said. Logan Sargent, Q3.
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 Did I say that as well? That rings a bell.
No, do you remember him setting a really good time? Like, he was still slightly below Albon, but he was definitely in, like, top 5, and then obviously he got done for track limit.
Yeah, they ended up with no time. So,
and then 20th.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm going to miss over the off-season. Have you seen this Logan Sargent Instagram account that just posts the same thing over and over again? No, it's where he finishes in each session with the Team America thing in the background. It's just every single video this guy is posting on every single practice session, just where Logan Sargent's finished. And I think it's,
what guy?
Dedication to the cause. It's not the Williams official page, by the way. That would make a lot of sense if they were posting that as well. But no, it's just this one random person, completely sort of,
Hopefully we see it next year.
Hopefully we see it next year.
Well, fingers crossed.
Not
confirmed
Seb?
yet.
I'm intrigued.
I want him back.
You want him back?
He's been great for the podcast. He's been great for content. So yeah, hopefully he comes back.
The team radio messages at the end of the race sort of suggested that he will be coming back. Can't wait to work with you more in the future.
Many more winters or things like that.
Yeah,
so you wouldn't say that if you're thinking about binning him off.
I think it's a case of James Vowles right now. They're probably a monetary thing. There's probably like a contract sort of like thing, the brick wall they've reached. They probably want him for next year.
Yeah.
But chances are,
Maybe Theo. Who's the
Well,
Mercedes?
No, he's Alfa Romeo.
He's Alfa Romeo.
Who's the Mercedes?
Bestie.
Frederick Vesti, runner-up in a hectic F2 weekend, which saw Teo Porcher.
He would obviously, but I don't know. Is there any point going for someone who Logan Sargent beat last year?
True.
Because I think we would admit Sargent would have done better in F2 this year if he was still in F2.
Yeah, probably.
So is that? I wouldn't go for them if I was Williams. I'd give
Theo
Sargent
Porcher?
another go. Oh, Porcher. No.
Okay.
I'd go for Sargent, which is
Wow, that is you completely changed your tune at the start of the season.
I know.
He's not the most he's not the least reliable.
No.
Ever. I think the TV was worse.
Oh, that's great, isn't
it? No, but when I
think that is some legacy. He's not the least reliable ever. He's all right.
When I think of like
Nicholas Latifi and
I think De Vries was worse. I do.
This is a great company you're putting him in.
This is riveting. This is riveting stuff. Here's who's worse than Logan Sargent.
Nicholas Latifi.
Should we get the rest of
All
our
people that
predictions?
aren't in F1.
Let's get the rest of our predictions.
Okay, biggest flop
Biggest flop.
we all went for.
Yeah,
Gasly.
who convincingly made it into Q3.
He did flop a little bit in Q3.
Yeah,
his lap
he did.
time in Q3 was pretty poor. He just didn't get the tyres up to temperature. And because his lap in Q2 was excellent. P5.
Look at
He was on it. He was
Sat in
on
his
it.
shirt.
He was absolutely on it. And I was thinking, my guy, he's got it. He's got it in Q3, and he was just terrible. Yeah, he was
My
terrible.
guy.
So he did flop a little bit, but he outqualified Ocon. So happy days.
Yeah. Well.
Now we're going to race predictions.
Race predictions.
Starting off with the podium, Rudy, Verstappen P1,
Mhm.
Piastri P2, and Norris P3.
Stinker. Well, McLaren looked really strong in qualifying. Everyone else didn't look very good in qualifying. We're about to get kicked out in around 5 minutes, so let's get this done and dusted. You know what? I'm not too displeased with that prediction, even though they sort of flopped a little bit, down the order. But at the start of the race, they looked really punchy. I was thinking, I might have, had a blinder here, but no. They weren't too great in the race. I think it was just largely strategy based, wasn't it? Lando in particular got sort of screwed over by the pit stop because his pace was really good. Even though Piastri qualified ahead of him, I'd say Lando had the race pace over him.
I think
for the most part, anyway.
I think Norris could have gotten on the podium.
Yeah.
I think if he hadn't, he sort of got undercut slightly by Russell, and then he pit stop at the time you need it to be bang on. It wasn't bang on, and then he just he sort of fell away with his second stint. Amy, you went for Verstappen P1, Leclerc P2, going very well so far. Norris P3.
I got the best one.
I think
you got 2/3 of it. You got 2/3 of it.
Yeah, I knew Charles was going to be fast. I really think, and I always said that the whole weekend that Ferrari were going to be faster than Mercedes. I think he had a great race. His strategy at the end almost helped him out, and hopefully trying to get that P2 in the constructors, but didn't work because Perez couldn't be fast enough. No. But so it's been a good end to the season for Charles Leclerc. That's what I wanted to quickly say. Is
overtook his teammate in the championship
he did,
standings.
Up at Singapore, they were neck and neck on qualifying, and ever since Singapore, he's out-qualified, and he's also got quite a lot of podiums recently. He's finished in the last 6 races. He's been starting at the top of the grid.
Much fewer mistakes as well.
He's gone a bit under the radar as well. Because everyone's gone on about Sainz having this brilliant season.
Yeah.
And Leclerc's now suddenly every category. He's better
Well, it was a case of, if you look back to the start of the season, Leclerc was sort of performing better than Carlos Sainz, but Sainz was picking up more points due to luck and you look at like the Baku weekend, Leclerc getting on the sprint race pole and stuff like that, and it was really good pace shown throughout. But at that point, he was miles behind Carlos Sainz in the championship. You remember that stat? It was something like in that sprint race alone, he picked up more points than he had done in all previous rounds of the season. So, I think it's a case of it was a frustrating start to the season for Charles Leclerc. But now all the stars have aligned, and he's finding sort of more rhythm in the car. The team aren't messing up the strategy as much as they have been doing sort of over the last 2-3 years. I say 2-3 years. They've been doing it for quite some time now, have Ferrari. But I think they've certainly looked like they've let the drivers have more control in the race. You look at these team radio messages, and they are being more assertive with them. The drivers to the team, this is, and they are, and the team are listening to the drivers more because, well, they have to. They've had the better strategy. Yeah. Look back to Carlos Sainz's first race win in Formula One at Silverstone. He told them, right, this is what I'm doing, and then he went on and won the race, despite the fact that his teammate was looking pretty quick. They wanted to do the team orders for the sake of Carlos, and then go on and win the race eventually. But it was. It's a case of the Ferrari have sort of caved into their driver pressure a little bit, which is what they needed to do. Yeah. And what was it? Just to go back to what we were talking about initially, Charles Leclerc, he's had a great end to the season, I'd say.
Yeah.
He has.
And hopefully he can take that into next season.
Yes, provide a bit of a fight to Max Verstappen again.
I think we'll ignore my podium predictions. We've basically covered them.
Let's not.
Verstappen, Norris, Leclerc.
Okay. It's not
awful.
Better than mine, I'd say.
Not hard.
I think McLaren just didn't live up to expectations.
No, they just got a little bit unlucky, and then they just sort of fell away at the seconds.
Yeah.
Then we'll go drive for the day, Rudy. Another cracking prediction
Who did
here.
I say?
Carlos Sainz.
Oh. I mean, we were all predicting Carlos Sainz to do extremely well last
Yeah.
weekend.
This was after quali though, by the way. But I
was expecting a comeback drive. I didn't admittedly didn't watch much qualifying content, but he just it was just purely out of his own merit. Didn't get out of Q1.
Yeah.
I was thinking surely that's just a bit of a fluke. He'll make amends in the race as he usually likes to do, particularly around Abu Dhabi. Really strong finishes in the past. Podium finish in 2020 with a terrible car. 2020.
Yeah.
2021.
2021
with a terrible car. And so, I was expecting Carlos Sainz to come away and actually really impress me, but no, he was just a mix of strategy, mix of just general poor race pace, and Abu Dhabi becoming extremely difficult to overtake around. I mean, we've seen it for a few years now. They brought it up on commentary. The Abu Dhabi race that saw Fernando Alonso lose out in the championship to Sebastian Vettel.
There was no DRS. And that sort of implemented the reason to bring in DRS that race.
Exactly, but he was still stuck behind Vitaly Petrov for the entire race. And even without DRS, he should have made that move eventually. But yeah, it's certainly the nature of the circuit that has made overtaking very difficult around the Yas Island arena, I guess.
Yas Marina circuit.
I didn't want to say circuit over and over again, but yeah.
But basically, terrible prediction.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Yeah, nice one.
We didn't have
I didn't want to be boring and go Sonoda, but
whereas us two, Sonoda, he could have easily fell away. So I think that's amazing, intelligent.
And he nearly did. He nearly did.
Wheel knowledge.
Wheel knowledge. I was about to say ball knowledge.
Any more to say about that?
No, because we're going to go on to your biggest flop, Rudy.
Oh, stop it. Who was my biggest flop?
Charles Leclerc.
What is your problem with Charles Leclerc?
I never think it's him going to be flopping. I think it's always, external factors that mean that he finishes terribly in the race. And he is prone to a mistake, but he hasn't been recently. I just contradict myself, basically. And he's the easiest, apart from maybe George Russell, he is the easiest to predict that he might have a clanger at the front of the field. You know what I mean?
Guess who went for George Russell, who also was on the podium, Amy.
George Russell was really strong this weekend, Amy. Talk more about that. Through your gritted teeth, that is.
Yeah, I mean, Hamilton's obviously, I think, people have been comparing the two drivers towards the end of the season as having very similar seasons, but I think Hamilton's been the much. No, he's been the much.
Yeah, I know.
Driver.
Yeah,
I don't understand where everyone's like, trying to compare the two.
I saw that with the quali stat.
Yeah. But he had a great qualifying, and then he was in a great position to be able to go on and get a podium in the race.
Yes.
And Charles Leclerc obviously almost tried to get Sergio Perez involved in his strategy and hopefully get away from create a gap, but he stayed with him all the time, and he did really well to be able to keep him within that 5 seconds.
I think it's good to see George stepping up when it matters as well. Obviously, it's a weekend where it really mattered for Mercedes.
It secured them second place in the Constructors'
Championship. And I think it shows maybe, hopefully, potentially, when he is, has the car to potentially compete for a championship with the pressure on him, maybe that's a good sign that he'll be able to cope with that.
It's interesting as well, because he didn't, obviously the team had a lot to play for, but he, interestingly, was one of only, 3 drivers in the top 10 that actually had the championship position confirmed before the lights even went out. He was guaranteed to finish no higher or lower than 8th place in the Drivers' Championship. And so that might, demoralize a driver, but he did provide a very interesting interview. I say interesting, very sort of obvious interview answer. What motivates you to carry on with these races even though you've got no possible changes to your position? Just, for those of you listening, he did the sort of like, suggesting the money sign, money hand gesture. Which, fair enough.
But then basically 2 awful predictions, guys.
Yeah. Who was my team of the weekend?
Was all right.
Mine was good. Nico Hülkenberg. Got into Q3 for biggest flop. This is.
Biggest flop.
And then he fell away. So what can I say? Just so.
And your team
well done.
Team of the day, you both went for McLaren.
Not a bad shout.
It's not bad.
Not a bad
didn't
shout.
do awful at the end.
Who was the team of the weekend? Would you say Mercedes for clinching second in the Constructors' Championship?
No.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I think you would say Mercedes.
I mean, obviously, the Red Bull 1-2 minus Perez's penalty, which was fair. Let's get that out of the way as well in the conversation topic. That was a fair penalty.
I mean,
turning
I'm
in
go
on McLaren. You say
Red
Bull team of the weekend?
So.
Oh, that's boring.
I'll go for AlphaTauri, seeing as I predicted that.
AlphaTauri. Why wouldn't they be team of the weekend, Sam? What went wrong there? Because obviously Tsunoda had a great drive. What happened to Daniel Ricciardo?
So obviously Q, his just lap time in qualifying wasn't great, and so he had to make it up in the race. Went for a bit of a strange strategy. Obviously went for the 2-stop, which obviously most people went for, but he had to box quite early on because he got some damage. Which meant he boxed for his second pit stop quite early as well.
Yeah.
Which meant he had to make the hard tyres last quite a long time at the end there. But he was closing in on Lance Stroll for P10, which at the time looked like it was going to secure AlphaTauri P7 in the championship.
Yeah.
But it just fell away for both of them at the wrong time. Ricciardo couldn't catch up to Stroll, and obviously Tsunoda lost out at P7.
We have 30 seconds of time left in the studio, so we are going to leave imminently. Thank you very much for listening to this extremely impromptu ShefF1 broadcast. Enjoy the rest of your week. Goodbye.